All right, today you're going to be learning a little bit about podcasts, and you should be taking notes on page 63 in your workbook. So, a podcast is named after an iPod broadcast because that's what they're originally made for. But now you can get podcasts on your phone or on a computer or anywhere that you can stream. And they're basically episodes of a radio show that you listen to about all different kinds of topics. So, we're going to learn about some of the characteristics of podcasts. Again, this is on page 63 in your workbook. So the first characteristic is that a podcast should have a simple topic. So as I'm giving you these notes, you can always pause the video to write them down in your workbook, or just listen until I go through all of these different characteristics and then pause the video and record them all. So the topic should be something that most people can understand. So usually the topics are not that complex, or if they are, that they are simplified in a way that listeners can understand. They often include stories, so real people telling personal stories. They are sometimes scripted, sometimes they are not at all scripted, sometimes they are partially scripted and partially unscripted. All of them, whether scripted or not, are practiced in a way that they sound very conversational and they sound very casual. Podcasts also have music and sound effects that add to the story. So depending on the podcast, this will vary a little bit, but usually they have some transitional music or some music at the beginning or at the ending. Some podcasts that tell stories will use sound effects to really enhance what's happening in the story. So for example, like creaking doors or driving or thunderstorms or whatever adds to the story or supports the details. This box is in the way. There we go. They all have credible sources. Credible means that you have credibility. You are trustworthy. So podcasts will typically have trustworthy people or experts give evidence. So on news podcasts, sometimes that's journalists, or on sports podcasts, it might be athletes or whatever you can imagine. Somebody who is trustworthy or an expert in a particular field. Podcasts have feelings and emotions, so the stories should make the listener feel something or feel connected to the person or to the story being told. Podcasts usually have some unexpected information, so the listener should be interested or should be learning something new. And they often will have persuasive examples. So that might be stories or statistics or anything else that would help convince the listener of what they're talking about. Again, like it says here, obviously data and statistics would be one thing you can include, but also somebody telling their own story, then they are an expert on their story. So the listener is convinced about whatever they're talking about. So the next thing that you're going to do after you've taken those notes about what a podcast is you're going to listen to an example. And in order to make it hopefully one that you feel related to, it is an episode about middle school on a podcast called This American Life. So it says, this week, at the suggestion of a 14-year-old listener, we bring you stories from the awkward, confusing, hormonally charged world of middle school, including a teacher who transforms peer pressure into a force for good and reports from the front lines of a middle school dance. So what you're going to do next is you're going to actually go to the link that I posted for This American Life, the middle school episode. And we want you to listen to the prologue, Act 1, which is Life in the Middle Ages, which is 6.5 minutes. And then Stutter Step, which is Act 2, which is 9.5 minutes. If you have extra time, you're welcome to listen to the rest, but I want you to listen to the prologue, Life in the Middle Ages, and Stutter Step. Don't do it yet. I'm going to explain what to do first. So when you listen to that part of the episode, you are going to, on page 64 of your workbook, explain how does this episode show a simple topic or something that people can understand. How does this episode include real people telling personal stories? How does this episode include music and sound effects? Is it scripted or unscripted, etc.? So you're going to take notes on the episode while you listen on page 64. Then you're going to look at the list I posted after you finished your notes and finished listening to the episode. You're going to go to the list I posted of podcasts that are often popular for teens or young adults and pick out one podcast that you think sounds the most interesting. And you are going to answer the Google question about the podcast that you think sounds the most interesting. Okay, so today you're taking notes, listening to an episode, taking notes on the episode, and then browsing the list of podcasts and telling me which one you think looks the most interesting. So at this time, you can stop this video, listen to the podcast.